Sure. And also for those who haven't heard yet, we are experimenting with the Sirenscape Online Player, which is the link that got dropped into the Tyranny Gen chat. If you click that, it will ask you to set yourself up an account for Sirenscape if you don't already have one, and then you will be able to hear through that the background music. That way you can either run it or not, and it will either eat up your bandwidth or not. And hello, Twitch.
Twitch!
Yay! So, as we settle in, welcome to the Tyranny of Dragons campaign. We are working with the group that is currently making their way through the Frosty North, having rescued Macath the Crimson, a tiefling sorceress who was in the clutches of a white dragon. The white dragon was thought defeated, but in its death throes was revealed to be a simulacra, a copy made of ice and snow. That means somewhere there is a white dragon, and it is probably a little angry. The party climbed up from the dragon's lair, convinced Macath to accompany them and make their way out. Macath seemed a little hesitant, given the potential threat of the white dragon's return. But between a little bullying and a little convincing, the party got on their way. They reached the Frostskimmr using a little bit of stealth and beckoned it over. And that's about where I want to pick up. So, if we could roll that beautiful credits, or whatever we'd like to do, and then transition, we'll pick up from there. Hey, welcome back. So, the party finds itself aboard the Frostskimmr. They have just boarded. The Frostskimmr is a small craft. It holds about what you see here. The area below decks is not quite as depicted. It's only about 4 feet between the floor and the boarding that's used as both the roof and the flooring from where the sailors row or sail. The boarding, can be taken up to be used as firewood, to be used as construction, and the boat is kept as light as possible because you've already seen them on several occasions have to lift the boat up over an ice floe and then down to the other side to put it back in the water. That takes a fair bit of effort. I did give the party a little bit of information. I'm going to ask them to clarify who knows what about the situation and what they're telling the captain. Based on their general knowledge of the area and where they currently sit in the pack and drift ice, it would be about 12 hours of sailing to get down to solid ground, or about 40 hours. Just lost my place. 12 hours over the ocean, 48 hours of travel if they were to make their way over the pack ice. Now, the pack ice is almost land. It is dense. There are small puddles and cracks that can drop through, but you don't have the open sea concerns. What is the party telling the captain, and which way would they like to go?
I have a question.
Sure.
One of the spells that Dawn has his hallucinatory terrain.
Mm-hmm.
I know it says that structures and machinery within that thing are not changed, but would like the deck of the ship be considered something that can be changed to make it sort of look like part of the ocean? So it doesn't look like a boat from the sky.
You know what? Bring that one up for me. I don't think you could hide the boat, but
Because I'm
maybe.
not sure if like the deck, because like the deck could have like as a place for like characters to move around on and stuff. Like it could like it's considered terrain in a way. So I'm just wondering like just the deck itself.
I think the boat
There
would
it
be
is.
considered a structure. Let me just take a quick
Yeah,
glance
but
here.
that wouldn't
Natural
be with
terrain.
like have the spell cast just on the top of the deck as opposed to like the surrounding area, you know?
Yeah, they do specifically say natural terrain. So the deck would definitely not be natural.
Okay.
Um, structures equipment aren't changed. Uh, but you could use that by projecting an illusion of a ice flow tall enough to cover the boat.
Would it move
Um,
with them?
it would not move. So that would be a way to hide in a 150-foot cube. But the just like 150-foot cube in range, yeah, would not move with you. I think the illusionist specialty lets you move illusions around after they're cast, but I don't believe you'd have that option here.
Okay. So that is an option. That if we want to hide for a bit, that's something he can do.
Sure.
As said to the rest of the party.
Any other questions?
That's a good option.
Because
Sorry.
like it can last for 24 hours. So if they like go out into the water and they hide under the hallucinatory terrain, if a dragon's flying over, they won't be seen.
Uh,
But
does that hallucinatory terrain work like we're floating here and we can do it, or do we have to stop to do it?
we have to stop.
Oh, kind of ruins our getaway plans. But I suppose we'll hear a giant dragon come flying at us long before he actually shows up, right? They're not stealthy creatures.
I'm a little bit less concerned with the flight part of the dragon, a little bit more concerned about the jaws aspect of a smart white dragon.
I get what you're saying, but it's not like he's going to be flying around flapping his jaws all over the place. We're going to hear his flapping first.
What does the sky look like currently? Is it cloudy or is it clear and blue? Because if it's cloudy, we'll have more trouble seeing a white dragon.
It's fairly gray and overcast with little flecks of snow and crystalline ice falling. You're in open ocean in pack ice, so there's a constant spray up in the air.
All right. Well, first thing, as we're traveling back to the boat, first thing, are we telling Captain Guy that dragon's still a thing, or are we just gonna let that one go under the slide?
I mean, did we have some kind of contract to have to tell him?
I don't think it's necessary. We also don't know when the dragon is going to return.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right, Angry Kitty. You should, why worry him if we're not even sure he's gonna come back? I mean, we did take his little toy, but it's fine.
I'm sure he's aware, but we don't know where he is and how long it will take him to return.
Exactly.
So
I mean,
we could get far enough out into the ocean and hide. He might just pass right over us.
All right. So that was Joey's major concern. So, given this one's proclivity for water, do we want to risk traveling quickly over the water? Or do we want to hoof it for 2 days.
Well, it sounded to me like when we were given options by an unknown entity that one of those options was kill on sight, not very friendly.
Let's flip over. Maybe sure I have that on this particular map. Let's see what I got here. Nope, doesn't go high enough. So the area that you're in right now, let's go ahead and drag you over to the map here. Very top left-hand corner, up there near Icewind Dale. So there is, and hopefully you guys can see me moving around now. You are out in this ice flow right here. And the nearest land is cut right across this way. If you were to do so, you would bump into the area claimed by Ironmaster, a dwarven stronghold, right in this range. They are very unfriendly and are basically attack on sight for any non-dwarves, and they're pretty hostile to any dwarves not from that particular area.
Oh.
So they are not a friendly folk.
Darn it.
A little bit further to the south, around in about this area, is Fireshear. That is still an unfriendly town. Think, prospectors during the gold rush. So very suspicious, very get off my land, this is my claim, we've staked it, that sort of thing. But they do engage in some trade, and they sell their goods off to other folk. More civilized, but a little bit troublesome by the docks, is Luskan. And this is about where you guys have left your cart and information. It's also where the Arcane Brotherhood, the Guild of Mages that Macath belongs to, is based. From there, you're pretty much in civilization. But out in this area here, you're in the frozen wilds.
Well,
Dawn would rather avoid any wilds,
I hear you, but
especially frozen ones.
we are out in the open if we're shipping it all the way back down to Luskan. I wonder if maybe it would be helpful to stop somewhere for a minute, for a day, for a hey, is he coming to get us kind of thing. But I mean, out of character, Plaut is also in character. Plaut is also super like, hey, it's cold. Can it be less cold?
Joey's main concerns again are traveling on water is super dangerous because we're gonna get like shark wrecked. Also, I mean, do we have to I guess logistics question, are we gonna have to stop somewhere to resupply before we make it all the way to Luskan?
You could press on all the way to Luskan. The captain would intend to resupply in and around Fireshear, basically stop off, pick up some fresh water, pick up some fresh food. He could push on all the way to Luskan, but somebody might need to give him a reason to do that.
So, Fireshear sounds nice this time of year. I mean, nothing's going on. I'm voting we don't tell the captain. I feel like it's unnecessarily worrying him, and what is he gonna do? Like, sail faster? Or row faster? How does this thing move? Steam engine?
Both. A combination of rowing and sails.
People just...
And if the ice is too packed, they lift it up and carry it.
Okay, like Flintstone style. Okay, yeah.
You got it.
Totally.
Feet sticking out the bottom.
That's how I thought it worked. Yeah, there's no reason to upset the people with their poor feet in the cold water. I mean, they're going as fast as they can. I think it'll only cause him trouble. And he'll question our methods, which, while maybe should be questioned, I think we're figuring it out and we're making do. And we got our target, so... We got our target, we got our information, let's just get out of here. And if we gotta resupply in order to keep the captain, comfortable, so be it.
Sounds good.
Anybody else?
All right.
Oh, wait, it's just us. Wait, well, little Danger Mouse, are you there? Oh,
Probably.
Are you under my hat?
Just feeling a little seasick. Let's go with that.
Weren't you a pirate one of them days, or were you just friends with all of them?
I was just friends.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I mean, do you have an opinion either way?
I mean, personally, I think my greatest desire is just to find the dragon and kill it before I do anything else. But I can go with other. I don't have a strong preference either way.
I tell you what, that thing come attack us. You get your wish.
Just launch me at it.
I'll slingshot you up there. I mean, I won't do that because these two cats will probably kill me, but you'll get your chance.
Sounds
And
good.
that's all I want.
So as that's going on, Macath is having a little bit of a breakdown. She seems very worried for some reason, and you assign Dusk to basically take her below decks, get her all the way up near the bow, and keep her quiet and keep her comfortable. So Dusk does the fluffy Dusk thing and occasionally does the punchy be quiet thing, and Macath is squirreled away. So, if the party would do me a favor, and someone take responsibility for rolling a d20.
Oh, don't all volunteer at once.
A 6. So, you know that there are two lizard folk in and amongst the crew. They are used when swimming is absolutely necessary, and they dive into the frigid cold water. At the time that they do so, an amulet around their necks glows brightly and seems to be protecting them from freezing. They tend to stay below decks, otherwise somewhat sluggish from the cold. 6 other of the sailors are below decks at the moment, the others rowing and sailing and making their way across. Where would the party like to be at this point? You can hang up on the top deck, you can help row, you can huddle down beneath.
Can I see the map deck, or are we just gonna go right back to this one? Pretty quick?
Oh, I thought I dragged you over. Apologies. There we go.
That makes it a little easier.
Ooh.
Dawn is probably gonna linger deckways just in case they need a quick spell
Sure.
thrown to hide. Keep his eye on the skies for angry dragon.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. Waverly will hang out down on this end of the ship,
Sounds good.
keeping an eye on things.
I mean, if we've got eyes on deck, I'm gonna go down and help push.
Sounds good. Poke your feet out the bottom and trudge your way along like the Flintstones. So, things are underway. Crew are doing crew things, and with those above deck, please let me know what their passive perceptions are.
Passive.
19.
18.
Roll 22.
What?
What?
I don't know. That's what my sheet says.
Do you have glasses on? Kitty glasses?
He has very good glasses.
Got
I'm
so
not
distracted
sure
I
where
completely botched how to roll.
He just typed 22. What?
Yeah.
Rolling 22 equals 22.
Yeah. All right. So, eagle eye and sharp that you are, you've got your snow blinder prevention on. You've got your little black smudges beneath your eyes, and no trouble as you pick out off in the distance a glimmer moving through the clouds. It is big enough and it is high enough that it could certainly be a dragon circling in the distance. What are you all doing?
We should stop the ship.
Captain's like, why should we stop the ship?
And he's going to point. Can't you see that?
And he looks up and over in that direction. Oh, foul beastie. We should put on full sail and row to the best of our ability. Get out of its way.
Captain.
We can hide the ship if we stop it. It won't even know we're here.
Yeah, I don't think outrunning a dragon is something... I love your ship, but I just don't think that's something it's capable of.
Well, not if it's an interest of us, as we've caught its interest.
Well, I mean, we're alive and containing flesh and blood. Don't they eat those? Up here, it's eat or be frozen.
Fair enough, I suppose. Strike sail, stow the oars, drop the sea anchor, blah blah blah. Nautical stuff. So as nautical stuff happens,
So as all that's happening, because it takes 10 minutes to cast a spell, he's gonna start doing that and like get ready. So like once the boat stops, to like.
Yeah, Plaut's
Okay.
gonna, the predetermined amount of stomping on the top deck to alert the ones on the bottom.
All right.
Bump.
So would you please give me a stealth check with advantage as you attempt to hide the boat?
Come on,
Is that all the spell does?
come on.
And it
Dawn.
does a little bit more than that, but we're going to use that as the baseline.
With advantage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to click that. Please roll well. There we go.
That is really well. You see the dragon circling several times over. Passes just above your position, but through the haze of the illusion, as you know it is fake, you can see that the outline is slightly different than the one that you fought. The wings curve in a slightly different manner, the head a little smaller, and there's something dark crisscrossing its underbelly and up above its shoulders. That as it banks once, you realize there's a humanoid figure riding on its back.
Oh.
Can we see the humanoid figure? Like, any details?
Do you have anything to help you see long distances?
Frantically checking.
No.
Wait, Edgar?
I have, like, I kind of don't want to send a bird up out of the ocean,
He's just a bird.
flying up out of the ocean.
So, doesn't it have, like, razor vision anyway?
Yeah, like, it'll give Dawn perception, like, advantage to perception, which I can do.
Okay. This is going to be very far away and lightly obscured, so your advantage will be offset by the disadvantage you would normally
The
have.
captain or anyone on this ship have a spyglass?
No, those are quite expensive.
Where's
Heirloom.
fucking Lace when you need her?
Heirloom items, really.
I mean, how do you pilot a ship without a thing to see far distances? Plaut mumbles to himself.
Generally stay within
By
sight
the
of
seat
land.
of their pants, apparently, and he's
Well,
going to glare up at
Yes.
Oof. Yikes. So could I have... Ooh, that is a hell of a perception. Well done there.
Sees better when she side eyes.
So, the figure atop the dragon's back is wearing robes of the cult. However, they're fancy. You see little glints of adornments, but they're not the deep purple that you associated with the wearers and those that have the mask. The figure also is very stiff as they ride, not moving much.
As
You would
in,
expect them to be crouching down to get out of the wind and the gale, yet they sit very upright and still. You must imagine they must be getting blasted with just freezing air and vapor in their faces. The dragon passes through clouds.
and this is a white dragon?
This is a white dragon. Similar size to the one you fought, but different in features.
Dawn, are you word vomiting?
Yes. Just
Is it the fucking one from the castle?
hard to tell.
Which one
like
from the castle?
Not the dragon that we murderlated, but the vampire that killed that storm giant.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Could be. You might expect an unfeeling undead to sit in such a fashion, ignorant of the feel of the wind on its face. That's possible. But you can't quite make out... Well, I guess from this distance you might be able to just pick out that it is a female humanoid. But could also be just a elf.
The three genders: male, female, and elf.
Male, female, and elf. There you go.
So I'm late. What did I miss?
Okay. So, welcome back. The party has detected that they are being chased by a dragon. They brought into existence an illusion, making the ocean seem to have a berg in this area, the ship hiding beneath that facade, the dragon circling overhead. On the dragon's back is a rider, humanoid, female, and very stiff and upright. Dusk, until moments ago, you were keeping an eye on Makath, who's having a little bit of a breakdown. You've heard them doing some boot stomping from above to say, hey, there's something going on. And as you come up, they fill you in.
Did you cut out this there, or did you just abruptly stop talking?
Oh, sorry. So if they wish to fill you in on what's going on beyond that.
We're traveling by ship to another place to get some resupplied, and right now that's a giant dragon with a rider, and we're in ice flow.
Hidden,
Cool.
thanks to your angry kitty friend, and we didn't tell Captain what was going on or anything. Mr. West. I think. I mean, unless he has some kind of big dragon defense, shield bubble that goes over his ship, but he doesn't even have an eyeglass, so I highly doubt has that kind of capabilities.
This is a very lightweight ship. It doesn't have those dragon piercers.
But right now we're being hidden thanks to Dawn. And if we stay real quiet, creepy rider and dragon might not see us.
Okay.
I'm holding on. Plaut's holding on to Waverly's tail. No, not yet.
Ah!
Not yet. Still
Let
too
me at
far.
him.
All right. As you continue watching, after a bit, it seems like the dragon's just stuck in a circle. It's just banking along the same turn, and as it does, it's slowly descending. But it doesn't look like a bird of prey that's focused on anything in particular, because the wind tends to cause it to drift around. As it starts getting what you would imagine is dangerously low, the water erupts from underneath it, splashing heavily, picking up speed along the ocean, and then taking to the air another white dragon. This one looking very much like the one that you fought in the caves just a short while ago. It flaps up and bumps against the one with the rider. That seems to break it out of its pattern, and they both sail up to the sky. Moments later, they're now winging back towards the direction of the iceberg.
And
How long
sort
do you
of
wait? What do you do?
until Dawn would suggest waiting until we cannot see them anymore, and then wait longer because they could probably see farther than we can. But we've established that dragons don't generally work together, right? Especially the
Chromatic dragons are known to be jealous and very defensive of their property. There are some exceptions to that rule. And if someone would like to roll Arcana or Nature, perhaps we might find out about some of those exceptions.
Where is my Arcana button?
Well, you know, if it's dragons fighting dragons coming in.
So, Joey and Dawn. Joey, you're familiar with the basic birds and the bees. Yeah, they do need to put up with each other at least to mate. So you've got that one down. And some dragons, you believe, have been rumored to rear their young for a little while. Dawn, you're a little more firm on this one, and come up with, yeah, that's probably a mated pair. They wouldn't normally stay together long, but in certain situations they may call each other into one another's territory.
What, like a booty call?
Could be a booty call, could be for assistance, could be for some other reason. And you do know that the cult of the dragon and the Draakhorn itself is being used to call together many dragons.
So I'm guessing maybe the one that we fought the simulacrum of probably called that one for help because hey, there's people intruding in my territory.
Somebody killed my simulacrum. Fuck. Okay, that's a word that I cannot say.
Simulacra.
Was that in character? Because that sounds like it was in character.
You know what? Let's say it's in character because that makes me sound less like a loser.
So minutes pass.
So
Occasionally you see the dragons disturbing the air far off in the distance. And then they're gone.
Oh, thank God.
How long do you allow to pass before you break out the oars and the sails once more?
Well, how long were we sailing before we saw them?
You had about 3 hours underway before those two appeared.
So they're gonna get back home, quote unquote, fairly quickly to inspect things.
Reasonably quickly, if they have not been there already.
Yes. So if they've not been there already, it's likely they will come back out. Hopefully not in this direction.
So we're saying go, 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 go.
I would say that's a good
While
plan.
they're heading in the other direction is probably best. He could do this. If we
Alright.
take a short rest, he could, after every one, he could do this reasonably indefinitely. If we chill for an hour, he could do it again, but if we need to do it more after that, it would have to be after a short rest. So we could go and keep an eye out for things. You know,
I feel like if we do end up coming out of hiding, we should probably get down below, because, I mean, they might be looking for a giant turtle, a tiny mouse, 2 cats, and a green one. Maybe. Or some combination therein.
Sounds like a good plan. I vote for hiding.
well, if we need to hide again, I need to be up on top.
Isn't there a stairway we can get to? Like a
Sure.
where we can kind of peek out, but they can't
and
see
a
us.
hood.
Well, so the deck is a lot less fancy than is shown here. It's basically just planks of wood across the ribs on which the crew walk and sit. So there are gaps, and you basically drop down the 4 foot, or you climb yourself back up when you want to go. Nothing fancy like steps. Steps are heavy. Who wants to carry those? So, as you start making your way into the lower parts of the ship, you see McCath is curled up against the wall as you get closer. That was him, wasn't it?
Him who?
Him.
Him who? What?
Aranthator.
Bless you.
The dragon.
Uh,
I was trying to be subtle, and you were like, who?
Trying to, keep you. Just, you're rescued now. It's all okay. Let's just not talk about things like that. You're gonna scare the crew. Even though we're all down here away from them or something. I think.
And you can see she's pretty tore up about it. And she's like,
Tore up?
Yeah, she looks very distraught about having left. She's like, I can feel him pulling on me.
Wait. God damn it. Do you have a... And Plaut starts, grabbing her by the shoulders and, turning her around, looking behind her ears. What? Do you have one of them tracking homing things on you? Damn it.
No, of course not.
Look.
And at least I don't think so.
Then you're probably just experiencing a minor case of some kind of syndrome that hasn't been named yet, where you like the people that kept you captive. So just, get over it.
So Plaut diagnoses the first known case of Stockholm syndrome.
But Plaut syndrome just didn't have the same ring to it.
That's fine. That'll work. And the boat continues on its way. An hour passes, 2, then 3, and you may take the benefits of a short rest.
Thank God.
The day continues on, and land comes into view. Frostskimmr's very shallow draft, so it does better just a little ways off the beach. They keep it in sight to help with the navigation and to keep away from the dangers of the deep, deep water. The captain begins steering the boat down along the coast, and eventually night falls. Captain looks towards you. Now, I've been paid enough not to ask questions. But would you like us to beach and go ashore, or drop anchor in the water? What exactly are we running from?
Is there still natural ice flows on where we are?
So you've made it close enough to the landmass that there is surf breaking up any ice. So the ice flows have been left behind. There's still bits of ice in the water and that sort of thing, but you're in open enough water. This would be effectively beaching and then pulling up on the beach, or anchoring out in the open water.
I mean, either out of character. Dawn. I mean, if you're short rested and ready to gas it again, I mean, either way, if we hallucinate a terrain,
I'm good to go again if
it's
you need it.
24 hours, right?
Yes.
Oh,
So it's
yeah.
a large scale tiny hut.
Yeah,
Yes.
let's do
Well,
that.
It won't protect us. It's just an illusion.
Are there other ships? This is a docking area? Or is it just us?
It would just be you.
So, I mean, without it, we'll stick out like a sore thumb. With it, we got a chance.
So then I guess the question is, do we want to dock close to enough in water where we can be a fake part of landmass, or like throw an anchor and then fake being a landmass, or get on a landmass and fake a landmass on top of us?
Well,
I want to say the latter, because the first one, like, clearly they will. I mean, presumably they know where all the various little islands.
yeah, we're in their territory.
Yeah, it's like a brand new island is going to be very suspicious. So, honestly, yeah, I think we should get on land and hide there.
I agree. Route 2. Also because, I mean, if they're on Dragon, they're going to be looking from top down. And they're going to, you know, if we got fake a landmass on top of us, we got a better chance of them just being like, it's white out. I don't know what's going on.
All right. So, the crew makes its way up onto land, beaching the boat. They draw the boat fairly high up the beach, placing it against a natural overhang. You incant. And because I don't happen to have a beach map, we're going to use the ice flow map, made a little bigger.
Just a little. Just a
little
wee
bigger.
bit.
Wee bit bigger. You have to imagine there's, you know, beach, pine trees off to the west. We're going to bring the crew over. We're going to get rid of the duplicates. We're going to get rid of the duplicates. There we go. So,
hallucinatory terrain covers 150 feet of area.
So we will be playing from the east over here. That'll be the water. They have pulled the boat up yay ways. And they have hidden it like so. The crew huddles up for the night, as does Macath.
I like how they maintain formation.
They're very organized. Very, very organized. We'll talk about that formation in a little bit, maybe. And if I could have another stealth check at advantage for that hallucinatory terrain. That is a good stealth. It's late. Darkness has fallen. They're not lighting any lamps. They're not creating any additional warmth. They're just huddling as close as they can to one another. The dwarves, elves, and half-elves of the group are being as helpful as they can. When people ask where something is, they're directing them to it. And it's a pair of dwarves that are standing guard, eyes to the sky and all around. Macath is sleeping fitfully, has the books and scrolls all now done up and secured against the cold and the wet. Would the party please divide themselves up into 2 to 3 watches if they wish to post additional watch?
I don't think I'm gonna be of much use. I mean, I'm also tired, but I don't think I'm gonna be of much use. I can't see in the dark, or, you know, at all right now.
So you're saying 2 or 3 watches?
To your choice. However you wish to break that one up.
I think we should do 3 watches.
And personally, I think the kitty cats should take the single watches because they can both actually see things. I don't know which one of you is better at perception. But Joey's not great.
Dawn sees much.
Then your tiebreaker would be between Dusk and Waverly. Joey's going to bring up the rear of whatever the two-person group is.
You guys just let me know if you need me. I'll be over here. Just
If anybody needs perception, Dawn's got a +9, so she can help with that too. And Dusk.
All right.
Sleeping in the Soho has stuck when you were a reptile.
And could I have those on the first shift roll me a d20, please?
Who's on the first shift? Just a regular d20?
Yep, regular old d20.
Okay, I guess I'll do that then.
19. All right. So, you're all hunkered down, using the ship to shelter you against the wind, that cold, pressed together pretty tightly, trying to keep in the heat. You don't hear it coming, and you don't see it coming, but you can feel an icy chill descend on the area. Somewhere out in the distance, one of those dragons is pacing about.
Perceive through the thing. See if I could see it.
And go ahead and give me a perception check.
And this is at advantage with burb help.
Advantage with bird help. Yep. And yes. A little ways away, you can see, tracking along the line between the surf and the land, a white dragon. It's the one that has the harness and the humanoid on its back.
Does the humanoid look changed in any way, shape, or form, considering it's probably been on the dragon for hours?
The humanoid does not appear to have shifted even a little bit. You can see it jarring slightly as the dragon moves, but it doesn't seem to have changed position.
Oh, that's creepy. That's a corpse or something. I don't like that.
Continues pacing along,
Keeping
just
an
the
eye
limits
on.
of your vision, some 200 feet away. It's tracking up and down the beach near where you had disembarked. You can hear and watch as gouts of sand and debris blow away as it takes huge snoutfuls and then blasts it out, scenting and searching.
Oh boy.
It seems to know you're in the area, but not be able to find you yet.
Okay, that's good. We just keep hiding and hope it stays out of range. Because we can't fight.
It's like
They're
that
not
holding
gonna
your
do-
breath, like
Exactly.
not moving.
It's a good thing we're completely surrounded by the sea, and therefore the only thing on the wind is the overwhelming scent of salt water.
That is true. However, much as you might hope that your illusion would hold, it seems as though something has caught the dragon's attention. Its head swings slowly. It looks in the direction of the boat, and then it freezes there. moment passes, and then the next. It's probably 200 or so feet away. You can't really make out its expression, but the
Dawn
head
kinda
is pointed towards you.
Dawn kind of glances over at their tiefling friend. Since she's
Please tell me it doesn't
still
make you
asleep,
hair.
not doing anything.
Macath looks still asleep. And have you alerted most of the crew? What are you doing?
Being very still and quiet.
They're silently praying to the cat lord to protect us because, good God, do not want to fight a dragon in the middle of a freezing cold ocean.
Were there? Is it just us, or were there dwarves too?
So the dwarves
That
are
are awake.
there, and they're sort of looking at you like, what you got? They seem to be having a lot more trouble than you are seeing through this illusion. And they haven't picked out the white dragon in the darkness, backed by the snow and the ice.
Dawn doesn't
Yeah.
want to cause a panic to make noise that would actually,
These are fairly steady sailors, so they understand the how to wake people up quietly, cover the mouth, shake them awake, that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Right,
I
but
think they should know. They ought to be prepared in case something happens.
oh, well, Plaut's asleep, so silent snoring.
I think Dusk is gonna very quietly, discreetly let them know what's up.
is it
It's better to be
possible to
prepared.
like message people while they're asleep? Just be like, not like
Like
yell
in
"wake
dreams
up,"
or
but
something?
use it to nudge people awake.
Bring up the message spell real quick. I think you can do that.
Where are you?
Oh, that's
message?
cool. I didn't know we could do that. To talk to them in their sleep.
I believe the message spell allows you to. I think it's just a whisper basically, so you can whisper at somebody who's sleeping.
Because it's a cantrip, so it's just like poke.
It's like a
Yeah, so you could definitely whisper at people.
So just go down the row. Just like, it's here. Be quiet.
It's gonna be a bad game of telephone.
Okay, whisper, whisper, whisper. Now, are you just waking up the other party members, or are you waking up some of the crew as well?
Dawn's focusing on the party, and
Okay.
maybe can never remember her name.
Macath?
Yeah.
All right. So you start explaining.
She's theoretically helpful.
She
but
is.
Could
She,
You know.
she should be. Like, literally, in theory, on paper, sounded really great, and in person is just a nervous wreck ball who has said nothing but, "You'll probably fail, but okay."
I mean,
I feel like it might be better if we leave her asleep.
Yeah.
I'm concerned that whatever tracking magic may or may not be at play might be a lot stronger if she's conscious.
true.
Well, okay, that's a question. So, as Plaut kind of slowly wakes up, is there any perceptible difference between the way the dragon is sniffing, looking, moving now versus when Macath was awake?
So this dragon is the one that's wearing the harness. You saw that circling, and then it sort of locked into a circle. At this point, it has locked and has, for the couple of seconds and now minutes that you've been doing your whisper down the lane here, has not moved.
Oh. We shouldn't draw its attention.
I'm on the vote for don't wake up Macath. I think she'll just stab us in the foot, to be honest. She wasn't any help when it was sniffing us out the first time. Although Plaut is kind of like, I could just lay on top of Macath if it's a smell that we're worried about. I don't know. Just shh. It's fine. Just hold still. Like real quiet. He's up there.
Are you waking up, Makath? I've heard
No.
yes, no twice.
No,
I'm
there was
not.
the question of whether to.
Okay, so Makath stays asleep. The dragon stays frozen there. Seconds pass, minutes pass. Almost 10 to 15 minutes passed. Before finally there's a disturbance in the water behind the dragon. Aranthator rises from the water. He nudges the tail of the still dragon. They turn and then move off, both swimming away to the west.
Oh, thank us. Okay.
Oh,
The dragon with the harness stays on the surface, keeping its body about halfway up out of the water, the humanoid figure in the back not getting wet. Aranthator, however, dives quickly beneath the surf. A few more hours pass and people start going back to sleep. Eventually, dawn comes around, and anyone who needs it can take the benefits of a short rest.
wait, short rest?
No.
Long rest, excuse me.
I was-
Oh,
Lots
okay. So
of
we've
long
been
rest.
in this boat
Long
for
rest.
hours and hours and hours, and hopefully for a break.
Long rest.
Yay. Click all the things.
I got 26 temporary hit points from something. What was that from?
Crow table.
Yep.
Yeah.
Does that stay or does that go after the long rest?
That would be gone after the long rest.
Okay.
So,
Oh, I
Captain
feel
looks towards you.
so much better.
The ship is much faster on the water, but it seems dragons patrol. What would you like to do? We can set out from foot here, hide across Frostskimmr, and return sometime later, but that's quite a journey.
Yeah, I don't know how we'll traverse that far down to Luskin with, I don't know, like 20 to 30 of all of us.
Well, we would make our way to Fireshear and wait it out there and return in a few weeks. Where you go from here, I'm not overly concerned, but if you wish to take to the sea again, I am committed to offer you passage back to Luskin.
Well, we love you too, Captain.
I can only I can't look reading at listener to 150-foot cube. So well, theoretically could hide a would the boat fit in that cube space where you could hide the bottom as well?
You could make a small mound of snow up here that would cover.
No, but
the
I mean,
area.
if we're taking the boat to water again, could it make it look like a whole iceberg underneath as well? Because it's a 150-foot cube, not just a flat plane.
Yes, you could. You can. You would make the terrain look convincing, so an iceberg would have a bottom and a top.
Okay, so he can't because they're swimming, can still hide
Yes.
in the way that
Yes.
we-
Yeah.
it-
Yes. You are cognizant enough of it. I'm not going to leave the bottom half of the boat showing.
Right.
You will
yeah,
make the
I
top
was
and
just
bottom.
checking. I was just checking that the boat fit.
Yes, the boat will fit.
But if
The
they're-
boat is not 150 feet tall.
But if the dragons are swimming in the water and they see the bottom of a boat and then it turns instantly into an iceberg, are they gonna do the cartoon wiki wiki with their eyes and be like, wait, what?
That one maybe not as much. And while you have seen one of the two dragons coming, you have not yet seen the other of the dragon coming. It seems a lot better at hiding.
Yes.
So I guess the real question is, how many days by foot are we to fire Bloch?
Yeah, what by foot, what by water?
So you're looking at about 75 miles either way. So you've got a long journey. Now, the further you get from the dragon's domain, the much less likely that the dragon would come to you. Ships travel about twice the speed of people walking in this kind of environment.
Walking's like 30 miles a day at regular speed, right? Something like that? Or is that horses? I forget.
The travel speed is 30 miles per day, moving quickly. However, you would be more on the 18 miles per day over this icy terrain.
Yes.
The ship would be traveling closer to the 30 miles per day.
I'm thinking we hoof it for a little couple of days. We get out of the red danger zone and get to the yellow danger zone before we reconsider going back into the water.
Carrying the boat with you overland would be much slower.
Like 9 miles a day?
Yeah, like 9 miles a day, sure.
Looking at spells. That's not going to fit in the.
Also, are these people going to be able to live if we keep walking like that overland for 9 miles a day to get to
Oh,
fireplace?
Yes, they are not happy about it, but they definitely are prepared for this sort of thing. They have rations and things set aside. There's a lot of, you don't pay us enough for this going around, but we're all still alive.
So I'd say, guys, maybe we hump the boat for like 2 days, and then if it's still shitloads of dragons, we ditch the boat, and if it's less dragons, we jet out of here. Problem on foot would be trails. There's no way to hide this much walking.
I'm just clicking it to output text, not actually casting it.
Oh. That's a 1 hour.
That's 1 hour, though.
I mean, still, an hour of missing trail would make it harder to find where it picks back up again.
And so, you said we're moving about 30 miles a day, and we're looking at 75 miles?
We're like 17 miles, 18 miles a day.
So 9 if you bring the boat, 18 if you're walking over land, 30 if you're taking the boat on the open ocean.
Can anyone else besides Dawn cast Tensor's floating disc? Because we could take some of the weight off the boat, so it's not as heavy to carry. It also only lasts for like an hour, but that's annoying.
The boat isn't a fantastic concern to carry if they're doing the 9 miles an hour. Basically, they will strip it down to just the hull, so all the flooring and that sort of stuff comes out. Anything that can be left behind is, and then they take the hull and march along with that overhead.
Yeah, but if like
Yeah, any little bit helps, but
no, but I mean like if like what Joey said, like maybe get back in the water after 2 days. If they're leaving half the boat here, that's not gonna.
The half they leave is not the functional part. It's the floorboards, not the hull. So basically, they end up with a big canoe after they've gutted it.
Because Tensor's floating disc could carry 500 pounds. Because like my thought is like if they could speed them up, if it's not such a heavy burden to carry. You know what I mean? Because it could lift 500 pounds. He could cast it twice, one on one and one on the other, and he'll have to do that every hour. But like with that extra lift,
Sure.
maybe make it move faster.
It would help. The way Tensors actually works is if it goes over 500 pounds, it breaks. So you would be putting some of the stuff on the disc, not the actual boat, but that's less stuff that they have to carry. So you can put 500 pounds of stuff that they would otherwise have to carry, probably rations and stuff.
Mhm.
But yes, functional, helpful.
Also, would walking count as a short rest, like in this travel, to
No.
get back
I mean, if we're
spells?
actively moving, I don't think it would.
Yeah, not in this
Not
condition.
this kind of. Mhm.
So I'm hearing overland and taking the boat.
I
For
mean,
a
it
couple
sounds
days.
reasonable. We get a little bit of
Yeah.
help from tensors. We can break trail 3 times a day with 3 passes.
Exactly. Seems like a good enough plan for me.
Sounds good. I've heard some good things happening. So now we need to throw in that random bit of fate. And if someone would please roll me a d20.
I did it last time.
You're all rushing to the dice bag. I can see it.
I'll do it.
Use hers.
Ah. Either way, okay. The day is painful and unpleasant. You learned about muscles that you didn't know you had, but uneventful. The crew manages to hunt down a few creatures as they're traveling. They pick up some forage along the way. Rations are eaten. And eventually, night falls once more. They take the ship, turn it upside down, shovel snow on top of it
They
to
don't
help
have-
give it a little bit of disguise.
Well, he could just cast.
So
Give
they
him a
also
bit
say
of rest, like
they
after
also
like.
say, yeah, they
Hmm?
they let you know it also helps with insulation. And then they clamber underneath to huddle and hopefully regain some warmth after that cold day. You have the benefits of a short rest, and as the night falls, do need to ask for another of those d20s.
See, I will roll 1d20.
All right. Evening passes uneventfully. You set out the next morning. Everyone's starting to calm down a bit, relax a bit. McCath starts talking with you. Now, have you let her know what's been happening, or are you keeping her in the dark of what you've been seeing in the night and overhead?
No, I
Would,
think she saw, so.
You kept her
No, she was
asleep.
asleep.
Yeah, you kept her below decks and asleep, so she has not seen.
Well, she knew. She's like, he's here, isn't he? And we're all looking terrified.
Okay.
At least the
And that's
first
all
time.
the information she's had so far.
Yeah.
All right. So. Well, that's some good snow noise. Well done, Serinsky. So. Continuing on. Are you ready to head back into the water or continue over land? What's the plan?
I believe it was 2 days of overland, so I think we're gonna take a safety second day and
Okay.
then wait and see.
You got it. You activate your pass without trace. You do your best to cover your tracks. You move carefully and quietly along, and one more of those d20s.
I guess I'm due. I know everybody else did, and I did the first one, so hey!
Hey! Keeping it nice and low. You continue on. The day passes uneventfully. It seems that you may have left the dragons behind. Evening and then night pass uneventfully. And the next day, back onto the water?
that was the plan.
Yeah, let's try and get back on the water, see how quickly we can move.
And could I ask for one last d20? You do not want to see a 20 on this.
So she.
Yay! Let's see, I'll do it again. Why not? God damn it!
Oh! All right. Despite the distance that you've put
Come on.
between yourself and the iceberg, and the excellent work you've done,
Oh no.
All the hard work.
once more you see the
Throw
shadow
that
of a
dice away.
dragon crossing the water.
Are we in
got-
the water yet?
You are in the water at this point. So, out in the water, that shadow in the distance.
No.
Are we moving?
You don't
Or
need
do
to
we
be
just
if you
get
don't want to be. So what is the plan? What would you like to do?
It worked
As
before.
there's
Let's
dragons
hide
on it.
again.
Quickly do the terrain just for a hope.
Okay. May I see a stealth check, please, for your hallucinatory terrain?
I'm so sad.
Ah,
Unfortunately, an 18 does fall below the dragon's passive perception.
Oh no.
In the sky, the dragon sights you, detects there's
Why?
something not quite right, and begins descending. As it's coming down, drawing closer and closer, at about 300 to 400 feet out, you see its wings lock a little bit, and it just hits the water and comes to a stop. 300, 350 feet away from where your illusion begins. It's floating there, very still, its eyes looking towards the illusion. The humanoid figure on its back, still frozen in its harness. What are you doing?
What's demon dice again?
Okay, so every time it's done.
Demon dice is we get a reroll of a d20, but if we use it, then the DM gets one also. But I figure, that's the closest I can get to having an inspiration. Because I can never remember the rules now for inspiration, but Kyle said it was once per chapter, and I don't has.
Do not has yet. So we'll be back on the boat for the moment. I'm going to go ahead and drag an indicator onto the screen here.
I don't like this.
Okay, so every time this dragon has locked up and frozen, the other one has shown up within minutes.
And the other one has shown up from under the water. So, cue iceberg suit.
we already have it on.
So you do have the iceberg suit on. And even through that iceberg suit, this dragon seems to have begun its approach, and then 350 feet or so out, splashed down into the water. Now it's very still.
Okay, so we got two choices. We can either try to outrun on a boat, which is not going to happen, or we can try, or we got to get out of the water and get onto land.
Yeah, they're at a heavy advantage in the water.
How far out are we? Do I have?
So the boat stays within sight of land. It could make a sprint for the beach. And within minutes, you could be up on the beach.
Yes, that. Plot would be like land. I mean,
Land is much better. Yeah.
Land. Whatever makes Casey change the map more often and get confused.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what we're going to do. Just going to switch back over to this map over here, over to land.
Oh, is that what we said? I thought we said we were on the boats.
Is that what we said? Okay, so what are you telling or asking the captain to do? And he's seen a lot of magic produced by you folk, so he's like, okay, we do what you say.
Well, what would you guys do if we weren't here and a dragon was tracing you? Just out of curiosity.
We've never angered a dragon.
Well, I know, but Captain, you're a captain because you got to think on your feet. What would you do?
In this situation, head to land.
Well, great.
Scatter.
Step one, accomplishing. Scatter. Is that really the best way to keep your people alive?
It's the best way to keep most of them alive.
You don't have any kind of weaponry at all, right? Nothing?
I mean, he looks down at the, like, you know, classy curved sword he's got and the dagger. He's like, it's a dragon.
Well, yeah. I know.
It's got teeth bigger than my crossbow bolts.
Right, but there's like, what, 30 of y'all? I'm just wondering, anybody got any spares, any bow and arrows?
Oh, yeah, there's weapons amongst the crew, but, you know, they don't seem enthusiastic about this.
I mean, actually, Captain's not that wrong here. Get to land, scatter the fuck out, so that, you know, we don't all get breathed down at the same time, and 30 people shooting bows, at least 2 of them are gonna hit.
Well, yeah, I was just trying to secure the third part of that step there. Like, this, we're doing the land, we're doing the scatter. I just wanted there to be a turnaround and, something. That's all. Because if they're hurling at least a couple arrows, that'll help us out.
So, let's find out about doing that land thing. Here's what the random dice are going to do. I'm going to need a D4, which will determine how many minutes frantically rowing it will take for the crew to beach. So please roll me 1d4. You want to get lower than a 10.
1d4?
Yeah, you got a pretty good chance of making this. Okay. So, the crew absolutely haul on the oars. They don't care. You hear one of the oars break. It's being pulled so hard. They shoot over and up on the beach. The Frostskimmr grounds itself, and you can hear timbers scraping and breaking underneath. After that, the crew are leaping off, splashing through that last bit of surf, and heading up towards the beach. Away in the distance, there are some pine trees for cover, but closer to the beach and shore, it's fairly barren. And we're going to go ahead and reuse that icy screen that we had over. Behind you, the dragon remains frozen in place, just bobbing in the waves. That humanoid figure leaning side to side with the movements of the dragon's body. Come on over here, ship. You've been beached. Took about 2 minutes to get on land. What are you doing from there?
Move away from the water as much as possible.
Alright. As you guys are talking, you hear the captain say, "Triple pay for any man that makes it back to Fire Shear. Best of luck." And then whoosh, they start to scatter.
Well, I guess
Some of the women of the crew about, "What about the women?" He's like, "Yeah, it's triple pay for you too."
I thought
That
some
was
of you were
Declan saying.
staying and shooting bow and arrows. No?
At what?
Well, I'm sure it'll make itself known. The big white thing out, that one? The big thing that's coming for us?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's still out there, and they want to be as far away from it as possible. So they are scattering. If you wish to enjoin them to do something else, I'm willing to hear the offer.
Yeah, I mean, shit. What's the alternative? They run and scatter? I mean, Plaut will stand there and try and make a play.
Okay. What is Plaut offering?
Like stuff. I mean, I have got 1, 2, 3, 5 pieces of the finest liquor. It's a little cold. I'll pull the dust off. 5 pieces of the finest licorice that the Sword Coast can offer. I'm willing to split most of it with anyone that'll stay.
Yeah, like one of the people running past you just sort of pats you on the shoulder, like shoulder shell, like, you know, it's shame this slow person's going to get mauled in just a second, and then like keeps running on.
Have you ever wanted to fly? I mean, if you ever wanted to fly, or what else can I do to pick? Have you ever wanted to be a big gorilla? I can make your dreams come true.
So
Why are y'all running away?
As enticing as these offers are, it doesn't seem to be motivates these particular individuals.
But you didn't even let me get my speech off before I no, probably not.
No.
I mean, it's respectable what I'm offering, but I guess it's not enough to risk all your lives.
Yes, licorice and flight.
Yeah, Captain, you gonna leave your ship? Like, isn't that the thing where captains don't leave?
Captain's like, that ship is down.
Ship is out.
This is going on the report.
It's fine. Let's move
Let them
with
go.
them and stay scattered. Hopefully they'll get offered up as bait.
That sentence doesn't make sense.
Okay, and
But
they
all
do
right.
start to spread out. So as they're moving forward, as they're traveling, they hit that line of pine, and they are now moving actively in different directions. Some heading north, some heading south, so they heading out the west. Kind of a big semicircle to reduce the chance of them being caught. They tend to move in clusters of 2 or 3. Some of the slower moving folk having clumped together, the dwarves and such, whereas some of the longer-legged folk have spread out. The party, I assume, is staying fairly tight together. Yes?
Question.
Mhm.
Snow. How would you
Mm-hmm.
define snow? Just for purposes of spells.
Frozen water
Okay,
particles that
Thank
fall.
you. That's all I needed. Appreciate it.
I-
I heard
Okay.
the word I wanted. Thank
Control
you.
water? Is that where we're at?
Oh, so no. Anyway, so you were asking.
I think sounds legit to me.
That seems like a thing. So we're gonna go ahead and take them out of the contesting for the moment.
Is there any
passes.
natural cover at all?
Oh yes, you will reach the trees momentarily. So are you continuing headlong sprint? Are you looking for somewhere to hide? 2-3 minutes pass. You're now in the tree line. You could go to ground. You could keep running. It seems like most of the sailors are of the keep running mentality.
I mean, if we can get into trees and they're gonna outrun us, why would we try bothering with effort? I mean, if we can pass and stay within cover in the woods, as long as that one doesn't actually have a magic tracking beam. Dawn, can you see if she has a magic tracking beam on her?
Yeah, why didn't we do this before we put her on the ship?
Well,
I don't believe you did.
no. He did have detect magic on for a while.
I don't believe you checked her out with detect magic.
No, but it just kind of makes it glow for 10 minutes.
You can detect magic her. She does not have any magic on her at the moment.
Cool, so no magic tracking beacon, so... I'm
But
thinking trees.
as you consider that, there are a number of magics that help to locate people that would be momentary. Locate creature, locate object, locate person, scry,
What's the range on those?
etc. Does any of you have any of those?
No.
Oh, interesting.
Don't
So, the
My blood pressure is slowly escalating.
don't get too bad there.
Nope.
The lower level ones tend to be fairly short range, 30 feet or so. But things like scry, those can go long distance.
Do not has. we don't have a lead box to hide her in.
Ooh, that's a good question. Can anybody make lead?
Now, why would I want to be able to make that?
Because it's poison.
Waverly hides her lead to gold kit.
Because it can prevent things from being found. Magic tends to not see through lead easily.
Alright, so I heard the plan get to the tree line. You're there. I heard some ideas about going to ground and hiding or continuing running. Which are you choosing? Or some other option?
Are the dragons following?
Dragon has not moved yet, still just sitting out there floating in the water.
Oh, thank God. Okay. Let's see which ground.
Can't we just try another pass without trace? I mean, I got one. I would imagine we didn't use all 3 yet.
Have not used all 3 yet. We'll say you used 1. This happened pretty early in the morning.
I'd say it's worth a shot, especially if we can sort of regroup with everybody.
I mean, they might see the magic part, but that's it.
I think it's our best bet.
Yeah. I want to try it.
Yeah. Pass without trace, head for the trees.
Sounds good.
Sure.
Let's go ahead and see the stealthiest among you. Roll with advantage and a +10.
So, that's probably me.
That's
Take
most
off
likely
the
going to
jingle
be
bell slippers that you wear at night.
Mhm.
All right. They're off. They're put away.
+9 Tuesday.
you. So,
Oh, yeah.
39 for your stealth
Alright.
roll.
Dang.
You have gone to ground, and you've even taken the time to erect yourself a little periscope using reflective things so you can see without having the dragon see you back, that sort of stuff. And as you're huddling down, Kath leans over to you and says, "That's Arantodor's mate. She has something wrong with her.
Oh.
Oh.
Mage on her back. Arantodor wanted me to replace her. There's something wrong with that binding. Do not damage that binding."
Huh.
Did you say a wizard on the back?
Yes. Long dead.
Oh, it's a corpse. I knew it was a
Gross.
corpse.
Oh,
But
that's
it's
gonna be a problem.
binding. It's binding his mate.
What? Why not mess with the binding?
I'm assuming it's.
If the
Keep him-
binding is broken, his mate may regain her faculties or may go entirely insane.
Oh no.
What
Neither of
wrong-
which are good for us. So let's just
sort
leave it
of
alone.
insane is she now?
Her mind is half dead. She was linked to the mage through that binding when the mage died. Arantodor intended for me to replace that mage.
I get it. That's why it keeps going in circles like it's caught its tail or something. It's kind of dumb in the head.
Yes. She dies a little, from what I understand.
That sounds great. We were just gonna try and push that to a little more.
So, 5, 6, 7 minutes have passed. The dragon remains just bobbing in the water. Any additional actions to being done by the party?
I'd say we leave her be. If she's, I don't think she's quite aware what's going on.
right. 8, 9, the 10th minute passes, and there's a disturbance in the water. Aranthator appears and nudges his mate, breaking the trance that she's in. The two look around, and now he sees the evidence of what she's been tracking, the boat left on the beach. The trails scattering into the forest. The two dragons move up onto the beach. One heading north, one heading south. They start pursuing, and you imagine several sailors are about to die.
Oh no.
Is anyone doing anything about that?
We
Dawn
Dusk
is
wants to
making
see-
no
Dusk is
plans.
absolutely.
like we
It's-
we need to help them. Like they're here because of us.
No, we absolutely need to let them die because that's their fucking job, Waverly. As Joey just like darkens a little bit on his face, and as he's looking at McCath, he's just like, "Listen, I mean, we can let a few sailors die, or we can let Tiamat come back into the realms. I know which one I'm picking."
You know what? I mean, I'm not against, a couple saving the lot here, but what's to say they're not going to come directly after our footprints next?
What footprints?
Well, they scattered throughout the same area we did. I'm just saying. It's either now or in 30 seconds from now when they're a little more full than they were before. Isn't it?
Well-
Are we all still in the cover of the woods, though, right now?
They are all
Yeah.
still in the cover of the woods, and to give you some concepts, if the two dragons are breaking out to encircle, they're likely going to be swinging wide. You could pass behind them using the sailors as they're being run down as a distraction. You know you're a lot quieter than they are, especially with the magics you have in place. The sailors might put up a fight, could last a little while, might have to root them out. So it would be advantageous to you to use them as cover.
I don't want to just throw them to the wolves. I don't want to do that.
Hey, they get triple pay if they make it.
That's true, they do get triple pay if they make it.
So they're doing their
If they
thing.
Make it.
Well.
This is how you
This
take a
one's-
24-way split down to a 2-way split.
I can't just leave them there. Like, Dusk is actually bouncing up and down. She's so jittery at this point.
Now the dragons are moving apart fairly quickly. The humans and dwarves have a good 8 to 10 minute head start, and they were running fast.
Can we get markers on the map for where the dragons are?
So they're almost out of range for you at this point. So they are. You guys were able to run into the forest, so you're 300 yards in. They are starting to move south and north, pursuing the ones that ran in that direction. And you can see them snuffing about on the ground, tracking as they go. They don't seem to have too much trouble following the trails that the sailors have left, but it'll take them a little while to catch up. And they seem to be intent on tracking. They're not flying above the trees where they might miss someone hiding.
Hey,
Unless someone had a 39.
Point of order. So the last time that we saw dragons, we forgot to do a certain, extra hard look at them. What was that again?
Sure.
What was it? Just so I remember.
So you mean the simulacrum?
Yeah, the simulacrum.
So a simulacra is a animated illusion, effectively. There is no detection option on it. You can't just choose to see through it.
And there
But
can
you
a
only
could
spell,
use
right?
detect- Yeah, it is a spell. You could use detect magic. You could use some other effects if you were within range to do such things.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that it was brought up before.
Yep.
Yeah, well, and also Dawn had explained earlier that there can only be one at a time, and they killed it.
That is true.
So there's not going to be another one.
Not for a few days at least.
And it's been only, what, 1 day?
It's been a few days at least.
Okay, so we're right back around where we started.
Okay, Waverly. You remember when back in the day when we were fighting off that giant darkness encircled ogre that took Talace's backpack, and we didn't have much choice, and I said sorry, Waverly, and I compromised the value of 1 to help all of us. Is just like that. It's just like that. We have to compromise the value of a few to be able to save everything.
Fine.
I think you got one more to convince there, green guy. Points at the tap dancing fluff ball.
Yeah. Because Dusk is literally like hopping
Dawn,
in
I
place,
did my job, do
looking
yours.
over.
Don is just like, he's been done with Dusk since like the ice
Fairy
castle.
incident, basically.
But he's just like, Dusk, do you want the planet to die? Do you want every single living thing to die?
There's no reason that says we can't save them
That's
too.
that's what we're up against. That is literally what we're up against. We don't have the time to save everyone.
Also, I just need, this is out of character, just because I know this map makes it look like we're on an island. Is it actually an island?
No, it is not. Off to the west from here, the ground continues to rise, tree line, and then out and in. So you guys are actually on land and could, if you really felt like it, walk, back to Laskin. So all the way up here in the very top left-hand corner, you guys have had 3 days of travel. So you have made your way down here. You're coming around the bend. Fire Shear is right down in this area here. Still a few days overland travel, but that's where you would be heading to. Currently, you're kind of on this little branched out part, and everybody's scattering north, south, east, west, just trying to get as much distance between themselves and their fellows as possible. You could slip down along the coast and then over to Fire Shear. It would take a few days, but this would be a heck of a head start.
I'm just checking something. Let's see.
Fluffy, remember when you came over and we first met? I was talking to you. We were talking about how we didn't have enough food to go around for the whole village. And so we had a choice to make. We could break it up and everybody could get a little bit to eat and we might survive. Or one person could be brave enough to go out and see if they can get some more and bring it back. But they risked, not having any. That was a choice that they made, and it was a difficult decision, but they took that on themselves. And I believe the captain notifies his people. When he takes them on, they know the risk they're getting into, and this is one of them sacrifices, Fluffy, that we gotta sacrifice something today so that next generations can grow up without this kind of fear, without this kind of turmoil in the world tomorrow. We're doing it for the future, not for us, not even for the people that made it away. These people are making a sacrifice for us.
I don't have anything like a smoke bomb.
Trees! Ah!
I feel so bad because this entire time I'm imagining Plaut giving this very inspirational speech, and Dusk has been rummaging through her bag looking for some kind of distraction.
I feel that's very appropriate, though.
Yeah, and Plaut's trying to calm Fluffy down, whoa.
So now I will say, this is slightly working. The dragons are not waiting for you to decide what to do, so they're getting further and further away, and they move fairly quickly. So now they're 600 to 800 feet in either direction, continuing ahead at a fast clip.
Fluffy, We got to go. They're gonna get sacrificed either way now. If do you want it to be for nothing at all? Because it's pretty much gonna be for nothing at all if we don't move now. Trust me, we will get retribution for their sacrifices. I promise you that.
Dusk is notably, like, sulking and very sad that she doesn't have a smoke bomb or something. Or any kind of small explosive, like a firecracker that she could launch just to distract. But if they are getting far away from everybody, then she's probably going to take that as an opportunity to run with it.
Okay. So.
Hopefully it also means that they're avoiding the sailors.
Well, so you can see that the dragons are tracking along the northmost and the southmost trail. It will take a few minutes, probably 20 to 30, but it's very likely that the sailors will be run down in that time.
How many sailors are we talking about here? I thought we weren't talking about the whole bunch of them.
The whole bunch of them is scattered.
Yeah.
And they all ran out in basically a semicircle. The two that went to the north and the two that went to the south, those are the ones that the dragons are actively tracking right now. And they had about an 8-minute head start. They're running top speed. Dragons are chugging along top speed. Dragons are a little bit faster. So probably within 20 minutes or so, you would expect those sailors to be run down if they get caught.
Okay.
During this time, you could go somewhere else.
If it's their time, it's their time. Give it a meaning.
It has. Right. That's a good point. I like the way you worded that. It does have a meaning. I mean, I think we gotta go.
Dusk is not happy about this. She'll go, but she's not happy about it.
All right. So, I do need to ask for one more stealth check from the stealthiest person in the group. You do get your plus 10. You do not get advantage this time, though. May I see a stealth check, please? A 32 is probably going to be all right.
Probably.
Probably. So you do a lot of backtracking, covering trail, that sort of thing. The Pass Without Trace assists you in this tremendously for the first hour or so, but then you kick into manual gear, sweeping away tracks, making sure branches don't get broken, that sort of thing. The Pass Without Trace you can then reenact again a little bit later to invoke another trail bake. It takes several days, and you're on your toes the entire time. But you do reach the town of Fireshear. Macath the Crimson in tow, miserable and cold, having left behind books and scrolls, all but that one most important journal that she's just not willing to part with.
Wait, why did she leave her books?
I mean, we have a bag of holding.
Yeah.
Do you have a bag? Okay. If you wanted to shove some of those in the bag of holding, absolutely. Whoop. Never mind. Yeah. You get to keep that.
Yeah, the Macath would have been all about that. No environmental damage.
Well, and Plaut would have been like, I'm so sorry, stuff. I'm so sorry, stuff.
See, now you're sharing information with Macath. So, the town of Fireshear is a rather ramshackle little town. It's mostly there as a trade hub for prospectors and miners in the area. It's not particularly welcoming. There's a room for rent sort of situation, not really an inn. There are 2 taverns for eating in, but most people don't open their doors.
We should go to that Vacancy Inn.
Yeah. The group of you roll up, cold and tired, but alive, and no longer, it seems, being hunted by dragons. The guards and other such peacekeepers wave you over. What's your business here?
Passage to Luskin.
Well, we'll
And
have
we're
a ship.
staying for a night.
We'll have a ship coming in a few days, and you can negotiate with the captain. You have coin?
Of course.
Betting's over that way, and mind yourselves. We don't like troublesome folk here. And he's sort of looking over what definitely look to be troublesome folk.
Come on, Plaut looks adorable and harmless. Got his little...
Plaut's got some icicles on him that look a little scary right now, and I think the rest of you strike certain figures. Meat sword / bow at the moment?
I mean, approaching town, it can turn into a turkey leg.
Okay, turkey leg. Evil demon cat summoning kitty?
Just looks like an orange tabby currently. In heavy winter gear.
Grumpy cat.
Grumpy cat, alright. Danger mouse?
I know how to not be noticed.
Okay. Fluffy kitty?
I'm being fluffy, but I can be quiet when I want to be.
Alright. So he's like, alright. And gestures you along. It's a little expensive to stay here, but nothing your bank accounts can't handle. And the food is very bad. It's obviously things that are meant to keep for long periods of time and require copious amounts of boiling to be consumed.
Well, Dawn could prestidigitate it to make it taste amazing.
Yay.
Deliciously spiced on very tough meat.
It's excellently flavored.
Make it easier to go down.
Still a little... Ooh, just gotta get it in there. The Twitch chat would like to note the differences between the groups at this point. So, passage is arranged, and you find yourself on a boat on your way to Luskin. Macath the Crimson seems to finally be calming down as you pull into port. Now, as for the Draakhorn, told you a good deal about it. It was taken away by the cultists. It was originally a gift from Tiamat to her dragons in the war against the giants. It can be heard by almost any dragon when it is sounded, and it has effects on those related to the dragons. I think if we were to study those effects, we could find the source and direct you towards it. What else do you need of me?
Well, that would be the big thing. I've got a kobold buddy that you could study, I guess.
Well, yes, that would be helpful. I have not met many kobolds who are willing to assist my studies when not being forced to by a dragon.
Oh, well, Harry's a sweetheart. I'm sure he'd love to help.
Dawn is bristling.
I was going to say, do I hear teeth grinding in the background?
Yes.
So, you make your way through Luskin, through the seedier parts of town, but you are impressive enough looking and have paid enough gold for the trip. Yep.
Valandra had asked if Dawn could find a, either find out if there's a teleportation, like a permanent teleportation circle in the city.
Sure.
Maybe just inquire.
So Macath said, of course, the Arcane Brotherhood has several such.
Are they available for...
Oh, do you wish to inquire for membership with the Brotherhood?
I just need the sigils of the
Oh, no,
teleportation circles, if that's...
Those are a closely guarded secret. And you know that there's a lot of value in those. Guilds will pay tremendous amounts of money to have those set up so that they can have a
Mhm.
way to pass goods around. And they're also a huge security risk. So
Yes.
they are not something easily given out.
Yeah, you have to do something
Well, I didn't expect it to be easy.
heroic, like rescuing one of their people from.
I mean, if you want me to put in a word for you, I'm sure they'd be happy to review your application.
Thank you. There is curiousness about that.
And as you're talking, Macath is sort of pointing the way through Luskin. It is a dive of a city. Like, the docks are bad. But as you get towards the area controlled by the Arcane Brotherhood, it's like somebody flipped a switch. All of a sudden, everyone is impeccably dressed, impeccably behaved, and very careful with what they're doing. Nobody bumps into anyone. No one wants to be within a foot of anyone else. Everyone has that look about them that says, I could kill you with my mind.
Okay.
You've seen that look. Certain people have used it on dragons in the past. All of them have that resting face of, ah. And I wish you could see what I'm doing right now. Like, I'm projecting eye beams with my fingers. So you know that look. Macath thanks you. If you can make arrangements to have your kobold friend brought to me, I will of course undertake the study immediately. And in the meanwhile, I will see if I can gather some reports for you on other such matters and point you in the right direction. Here's the paperwork for your application, and I'm sure you have a library card, right? No, and you get presented with the packet of here's what you need to do for a thesis, please provide recommendations, where did you study, etc., etc. But I'll put in a good word for you, and I'm sure you'll get past the first 2 or 3 rounds of interviews without a problem.
Mhm.
The Arcane Brotherhood does have an enormous collection of information and lore. It was raided quite some time ago by dragons, Rontator being one of the primary who stole away knowledge, and several of the books and manuscripts that you have brought back have been sorely missed. It seems that Macath had gathered some of the creme de la creme for those books. You are thanked, cordially invited to stay in a nearby inn while you rest up, and then politely but pointedly asked, what are your travel plans? How soon will you be leaving? What can we do to get you away from us?
I don't know about travel plans, but leaving base with Macbeth.
Mhm.
Macath.
Macath?
God, Macath. Thank you. Joey will touch base about Wallace and trying to get maybe a deeper background or a more scholarly perspective on how one could hunt down and brutally murder a person who continuously clones themselves.
So, I feel like that's converting an arcana into perhaps an investigation, or maybe a persuasion, some sort of Asian role.
If he's investigating, could I maybe help out?
I'm sure you could talk with
you
one
maybe
another
do it,
if you.
'cause I can't do it.
Oh, well, I could just do it, and you could. What was that problem that you had?
Let me help you here with that.
You couldn't kill a small child wizard. Was that it? Okay, here.
Okay. So with the help and the assist, and speaking with Macath, well, I'm certainly a bit out of the loop, but from what you're describing, a clone normally takes nearly a year, I believe, to mature. Making one occur sooner, I suppose, could be accomplished in a few ways. a contingency or perhaps a wish, and they come up with a few ideas for it. But there would have to be a limited amount. It could only be done so often. You're certain it was a clone?
Well, there was a significant amount of his old dead clones that he reanimated into basic, like, zombies. He did have 2 clones at his original place. I'm assuming he is looking for the means to make exponentially more. All the people around him. So, and with all the people around him that just weren't, like, processing properly, that's kind of what I'm leading to.
Well, magic is fluid, so it could be a number of things. Could be that he is using cloning, or he could have dabbled in darker arts and be employing something more to the tune of a magic jar, or perhaps even a phylactery if he's fallen into the route of lichdom.
Joey will probably take the material components, like the special material components required for these particular things, and note them so that he can track it down from the supply side, because that's probably going to be the best way to do it.
Sure. And she's happy to provide you with most of that information. And she has to, call on a few resources, call on a few experts on that. You hear some really boring dissertations, and some exciting ones, and some entertaining ones. But that's basically what you settle on. As far as that, Macath is freshly back from imprisonment, so has no knowledge of local goings-on. Does anyone happen to have done in their downtime a favor that they could call upon at this point? If we remember way back to our downtime activities, was anyone carousing and building up favors?
I didn't have none of that. Did I?
I don't.
I'm trying to remember. Did I carouse or not?
I just ate
so
liquors.
as you're all like, it's been a long week. Did we do any carousing? So we'll dig into that one. We'll give you guys the time to look that one up over the downtime. If you did have any carousing and favors built up, this is a arcane brotherhood. They are available to research it, and you could certainly cash one of those in since you do have one of those members receptive to owing you favors. Any additional items you want to address while you're here?
This is where we left the carriage?
This is where we left the carriage, so you can pick up your carriage.
Yes.
So, am I understanding correct that Macbeth is going to stay here and do some research to try and find the Draakhorn, and
Were
then...
we supposed to bring her back to Waterdeep?
Yeah, I don't remember.
So you, Macath was a resource to find information about the Draakhorn. You can leave her here and bring the kobold to her. That gives her more luxurious apartments and access to resources from the Arcane Brotherhood. You could bring her with you, either by force or by persuasion, back down to Waterdeep, in which case she'll be out of her element, but potentially closer to hand for questions. Your choice.
And where is she safest?
Uh,
Less chance of getting takey-takeyed again.
I mean, this is a big tower full of mages as compared to traveling on the roads.
And she can probably push your application up better from here. So, I mean, if we want to get them fancy light up sigil rune things you got going on the floor there.
That is going to take some time, regardless.
Better
But-
connected here. I think she'll serve us better here, and from what it sounds like, the water lady can talk to people no matter where they are, so... Right? That's how
More or
that
less.
works?
Sending is more or less a daily tweet.
And you can send it to anybody. You don't have to, have met them before, right?
You do have to be familiar with them. You have to have met them.
What if I draw a real good picture? No. Okay.
Probably not.
Harry.
I feel I'm letting the. I mean,
There we go.
Harry could
Loopholes.
convey messages.
Yeah, I like this already.
You could use Harry like a squawk box.
It's fine. Harry talks real good English. Or common, that language.
I mean, I don't remember it being real good, but yes, he does speak common.
Well, it's good he's got Macbeth to teach him more common.
Yes, he'll learn Shakespearean. He's speaking iambic pentameter.
Casey, you're digging your own grave there, just so you know.
That's fine. I can spend 20 minutes writing
Harry
out each
poetry now.
Harry poetry.
The only thing that'll soothe Dusk after just leaving that dragon fight.
Yeah.
You know what? It's fine. I mean, did we run into anybody from the ship? Captain? Anybody?
You have
Bueller?
You have not slowed down from what I've heard.
Well, I mean, by the
basically-
time we got back to Fire, did any of the rest of the crew get there?
In the 2 days that you waited for the boat, no, they did not show.
And we're in Luskin, and we're talking about packing up. I imagine if anybody's alive, they would head to Luskin after. That was the plan.
So Fire Shear is where they were going to hole up and kind of wait for them to gather. That was get to Fire Shear, you'll get triple pay. And then they'll have to figure out what to do from there because they now don't have a boat. But their debt to society is paid.
Okay. A little retconning. I would have left a word at Fire Shear with somebody. Just saying, for Captain. If Captain shows up. Scribble note.
Well,
How to contact me.
I guess, did the dragons destroy their boat? Because we didn't.
So the boat was damaged just in being beached. They beached it hard. So it needs some light repairs. But it would need to be retrieved if the dragons did not destroy it. And maybe you could find that out if you investigated that over the next few days, weeks, months. For the moment, though, you have been fast-headed to Luskin, so they could not have caught up to you even if they wanted to.
Yeah, Plaut's just interested in, possibly, trying to touch base with them in any way.
Sure.
The guild's preying on him a little bit, mostly through Dusk.
So Plaut leaves a method of contact behind. They do not happen to have anyone capable of sending, and nor does Fire Shear have anyone available to do such things. This would probably be, give a message to a courier, get it to one of the Harpers or other associates, and most likely the place that you would get the message would be back in Waterdeep, because that is where you will end up.
I wasn't sure
unless you're going to wait in Luskin.
I wasn't sure if we picked them up, where would they know to contact us, Waterdeep and or Luskin, whichever, it doesn't matter.
So Waterdeep is where they were recruited to do this mission. So that is where they could get word back to you.
Cool. Yeah, that's what I would want to do, is just make sure that they know, hey, we're obviously alive. We hope a majority of you are too. Those of you that aren't, he just wants to try and make good. I know there's no way to make fully good, but
well, as you're thinking about that, and you're like, okay, we need to, meet up with them, or can get word from them, Waterdeep. You recall some details about the arrangement. They were heavily encouraged to undertake this mission despite the potential danger due to debts to society, i.e. crime. So these may not be the best of people.
I am retconning that into my convincing to Dusk. And I'm touching my sheriff's badge that I may or may not have. It looks like a toy. While I do so. I mean, I legit have one in my inventory. I was a sheriff of something somewhere. So, anyway, they were crime, they weren't bad guys, but they were paying their penance, and they just paid a little more than the others.
They were privateers that may have privated a little harder than they should.
Make sure their families are taken care of should they have any.
Yeah, there you go. So, from Luskin, you know now that Macath will be doing research. From the basic information you've gathered and what you remember from Harry and how some of the Dragonborn were acting, you believe to the south and west would be the Draakhorn's location. Though it's a big sword coast, it could be a lot of places. You'll need a little more time and study to really nail it down. You could start heading south and west and send Harry back to the Luskin to act as your squawk box. Or do something else. What would you like to do right now?
Probably getting Harry to her would be the most helpful.
Yeah, because that gets us the intel the fastest, to get the horn the fastest, to get my fucking sister back the fastest.
Sure. And Harry is currently down in Waterdeep.
Yep.
And you have, through Valandra, a way to get a hold of people in Waterdeep, or at least directly to Harry. So the next time Valandra checks in, you could tell Valandra, hey, could you pass the message to Harry? The next day, Valandra passes the message to Harry. Harry now knows, okay, I need to make my way north. And he gets his little bindle stick and, little grindy box and just starts trotting his way north. Now he'll probably get arrangements made by the Harper to help him traverse as a lonely kobold a very long road.
Good boy.
So that'll take some time to happen, though. In the meanwhile, there are places available to you that some people had indicated an interest in checking into. They may be located down here near Oakhurst and White Plume Mountain as one potential location. There is Neverwinter, always a lovely city. You can continue hanging out in Luskin, make your way over to Mirabar, or head somewhere else. What would the party like to do? Or just take downtime. What would the party like to do with its time?
I
Does
mean,
anybody need any special goods that we might be able to procure in bigger cities?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay.
I know, Brainard, you wanted to check out the evil Barovia, the foggy city. But I feel like we shouldn't go there unless we have what they're looking for. Seems kind of weird to show up empty-handed without that Draakhorn.
I actually feel the opposite. I feel like delivering a report with the exact progress that we're doing personally is a very good use of our time.
I feel like with you, there's always some other reason why you want to do something. But
why would you think that?
I mean, I don't know you that well, but I feel like you got ulterior motives.
Crazy talk.
Crazy talk.
But no, that would be Joey's push. Would be however much time we're going to spend here. However, we're getting back to Waterdeep. We're obviously taking this cart. Why don't we stop in the lands of Barovia on the way?
Sure.
Would I know anything about how dangerous Barovia is to just walk through right now?
I mean, it's a land. The representatives made it to Waterdeep and back again. They didn't seem to have any trouble. The other group passed through it. I think Dawn passed through it. Didn't you?
Not through, but adjacent.
Yeah, but I mean, you walked through the valley. You basically came out of...
we didn't have troubles.
So, yeah, people have walked through it recently. It just sort of appeared there one day, though. A few months ago.
We went into a dungeon, and then it was there.
Yeah, I mean, Plaut's down for checking it out.
Okay. So we're going to end a little early this evening then, as I frantically scramble to prep that. Due to some amazing stealth rolls, good planning, and excellent execution, you managed to avoid a very dangerous fight with one or two white dragons. You will receive credit for that. However, those white dragons are still hunting. It may take them a long time to find you, but they don't grow old quick. In the meanwhile, please take this opportunity to advance yourselves to the next level of experience.
Oh, dang.
And we will be heading east from Luskin along the River Mirar, down south along the old trade route, through Oakhurst for some lovely tomatoes perhaps, and into the lands of Barovia on your way out and about. You can pay your respects there, give a status update, and who knows, you might find some additional information and other things available, as there are resources there that have not been known in these lands for some hundreds of years.
Oh, man. Yay! 10th
Yay!
level. Casey.
So,
Level 2.
level 2.
Gonna need some air elementals, Casey.
Air elementals. Roger. So, as that all starts to wrap up there, if anyone does think of anything else that they would like to do as they set out for their travels, we will refocus there. I apologize. I really thought we were going to have a dragon battle, and we didn't.
I think we all thought there was going to be a dragon battle.
Yeah, you guys probably made the smart play. Definitely on the water, the smart play. I was thinking maybe you were going to try and ambush one
Yeah,
on the land.
that's what I was thinking, was maybe if they're going north and south. So that was a good ploy. It almost worked.
I was like, I think they're going to track one, and then they're going to jump it, and it's going to be really
Casey,
bad.
You shouldn't have
Then you
made the
didn't.
other one a circle on them, because now I don't trust any of them as real, and I wasted everything. Right.
That is
Also,
one of the things as spellcasters.
Quick
Yeah.
question for you. I know you're kind of merging worlds, and I'm wondering if a certain water elemental that we may or may not have encountered in a previous campaign, that we released that the players so kindly released into the ocean, would be, available should I, want one of those water elementals.
I feel like you would have to discuss that with the water elemental's best friend in the whole wide world, who carried it around in a fantastic chest of holding that was just used as the water elemental bathtub. So if you wish to encounter such people, I believe they are in the area of Waterdeep.
Oh man, are we gonna have a merged campaign for a second? Kathy, you ready?
I feel like the area of Waterdeep likely where that water elemental hangs out, so it can shower its friend with the occasional spritz.
Yeah, I totally see Briseus dangling 1 foot and stump off the edge into the water off the dock. And Coral come into play.
See, there we go. You do also know that the half-orc that was with you when Wallace was fought is, I believe, the personal guard or a guardian of the area of Ravenloft. So you may be able to get additional information from him. He was sort of gruff and uncommittal when he moved away from there.
He is, isn't he? Just in general. I mean, I've never met him, but
a smidge. So yeah, things can collide there. But as that's happening, just so you don't think we fell out of the campaign entirely, there may be other adventures coming to find you. So as those adventures come to find you, please make sure you are prepared for adventure in unexpected places and times. Sleep in your armor, folks.
That seemed awfully threatening. It started off really nice, and then ended with threatening.
Ominous.
It got weird.
It got weird. So thank you all for your time and for playing. We will be back 2 weeks from now with this campaign again. Next week, we're going to be seeing how the others are dealing with their 3 black dragons, or dragons of darker colors, as well as the town of somewhere or other that I have just completely forgotten.
Harumpha-Pump?
No, it's not Harumpha-Pump. It's the little Waterdeep. It's Daggerford. The good old town of Daggerford. They try so hard.
Are
They're
they
like
actually
Newark.
known as the Little Waterdeep? Because I kind of like that.
They are known as the Little Waterdeep. They desperately want to be Waterdeep, but just not quite. It's like Newark, New York, which I realize now you probably won't know the reference on, but
I
from
live
anyone
there.
from this area, you understand they not fooling anyone there.
Yay, level 10.
Yay!
Thank you, Casey.
So, absolutely. And thank you, Twitch, for hanging in there. We will see you tomorrow night for Tormana.
Woo!
Indeed.
Yeah. In which things are happening.
And Wenry's gun is jammed, so thank you, Casey. Ahead of time.
Yes. Absolutely.
Like
Oh.
it.
Good night, Twitch.
Night.